I'll just wait for more attendees to come in. Right, so we'll begin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Phenomenal Women Global. This is our second webinar from the UK. I will just introduce myself. I am Portia, and I am the London focal point for Phenomenal Women Global, and I am joined by a co-host, Sherelle Vellenor, who will introduce herself shortly after and tell you what she will be doing today. So I just wanted to let you all guys know, thank you so much for joining us this evening. So today we'll be talking about how important it is more than ever, how to place yourself within the digital space, considering the circumstances we've been put in. So we'll be exploring the best way to navigate today, Instagram and LinkedIn specifically. It was important for us as Phenomenal Women Global to hold this webinar in light of the current circumstances. The digital space right now, as it was before, but now more than ever, is the best way to now engage with your customers and also increase your representation for yourself and your business. So in order to hold this webinar, we actually conducted a survey just to see where the most need was in terms of the digital space and where people needed the most amount of help. And Instagram and LinkedIn were two major places where people wanted to know more about how to navigate them to help themselves and their business. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So before I move on to introduce all the speakers, I just wanted to give you a breakdown of the hour that we're going to be here, what it will comprise of and what we're going to be talking about. Firstly, I'll introduce Phenomenal Women Global. We are a non-profit organization that works to connect and advance and empower women and girls in Europe, the United States, and in Africa. So today we're going to be having attendees from all over the world. So thank you very much for joining us from wherever you are. Please feel free to put in the chat box what country that you are tuning in from today. So as Phenomenal Women Global, we support women in their personal and professional growth through developing their leadership skills through either coaching or training programs and mentorship. I'll go deeper into the services that we offer and where we are based later on after we go through our speakers segments, just to tell you more about who we are. So before we start, I wanted to let you know, right, so we're going to be holding polls as well, just to gauge our audience today, know what you guys are all about, what is the most need, either Instagram or LinkedIn, where you would like to know more about. And we are joined today by Ronke Lowell, who is a PR consultant who's been working in this industry for about 10 years. And also we're joined by Sarah Ann Collins today, who works for LinkedIn, and she's been in that, in the LinkedIn company for about 6 years. So they'll do their own introductions, but I'd like to hand it over to our other co-host, Sherelle Vellenor, who will let us know about herself.
Hi, good evening, guys. Thank you so much for joining. It's so lovely to see where we've got people tuning in from. We've got Switzerland, UK, Johannesburg. So once again, thank you so much for joining. We have two amazing speakers today, guys. I really want you to utilize them. You've got the Q&A chat box there, so please feel free to ask questions throughout, and we'll definitely direct them to our speakers at the end. So just a quick little bit about myself. My name is Sherelle. I work with within the Forex market. I trade investors' money, as well as grow my own personal account. As well as that, I also do a lot of network marketing. So we're all from different fields. Guys, I really encourage you, again, just this is interactive, and enjoy it. Get all the nuggets. I hope you've got a pen and paper as well. And with that, I think we can begin, Portia.
Fantastic. So I'm going to start by holding a poll. I'll just access the poll. Yeah, I'm going to start by holding a poll just to see who our audience is today. If you just bear with me. And I'll just share my screen. So the first poll today is, you will see it pop up. Oh, technical difficulties. Oh, here we go. So yes, the first poll today is to know where you're working. You'll just see it pop up on your screen now. So what we want to know today is, who are you? Are you a business owner? Are you self-employed? Are you a freelancer? Is your business in the idea stage? So this will help us understand where you are right now, so that when the speakers are directing their conversation to the most need, basically. And that will run for the next 30 seconds. So yeah, feel free to just click on whatever you feel, whatever suits you best as a person right now. Right, so I hope everybody has joined in on the poll. I'm going to end it in a minute. Not a minute, a second. And yes, I'm closing the poll right now. And so from the results, we can see, I will share them on the screen just so that you can all see. Right now, we've got business owners and some people who are still in the idea stage. Fantastic. So I would like to run another poll. Sherelle, were you going to say something? No? I would like to run another poll just to, just to gauge what kind of, where you're placed in the digital field. Right, so this poll is going to let us know how confident you are in using LinkedIn and Instagram. Are you confident? Are you mildly confident, not confident at all? Or do you not even use either one of these digital spaces? Great, we've got some mildly confident people. That's great. Right, so I'm going to run this for another 20 seconds more. Yeah, so just take the poll so we can see how confident you are in using these digital spaces. And yes, that's it. I'm going to end the poll and the speakers will now see. So we have people that are mildly confident in using this digital space, meaning you need a bit more help to navigate these two spaces. I'm guessing just to increase your customer base or increase your representation as a person. And we will go on to the third last poll. How confident are you in using Instagram, which a lot of people use? I feel a lot of people use it more than LinkedIn when it comes to their businesses. So let's just see the difference between this. Right, so people are more confident clearly in using Instagram more than LinkedIn, which is great because we will be talking about LinkedIn and how you can use that to best suit yourself and your business. So I'll end that poll and share the results, and this is what we've got. So we've got mildly confident, and people are more confident in using Instagram than LinkedIn to represent themselves. So I'll stop sharing and I will pass it on to our first speaker of the day, who is Ronke Lowell.
Unmute myself. Hello. Hi, everyone. So I've got a few slides that I'm going to go through in terms of how we can navigate digital spaces. But my name is Ronke Lowell. I'm founder of Ariatu PR, which is a PR consultancy based in London, but I've also had global clients. We undertake work within the lifestyle and consumer goods sector, as well as individual personal branding, media training, and crisis communications. So today we're going to be talking about how you can navigate Instagram and LinkedIn. Let me open up my slides and hopefully you'll be able to see them shortly. So if I share, there they go, share, right, so. So the things I'd like us to take into consideration when we're talking about social media as a whole, are the types of social media platforms we're using, choosing the right platform for your business or your personal brand. And there probably is a reason as to why people feel more confident. Was it that people felt more confident on Instagram or LinkedIn? I've forgotten already.
Instagram.
It was on Instagram, wasn't it? Yes. There's a reason behind that. And I think that's because it feels a lot more social and familiar, right? Whereas LinkedIn is more formal. But I'd like us to consider the different approaches and how we can use those spaces to amplify our personal and business brands. The tools that we can use. One of the issues that people find when they're navigating Instagram and LinkedIn is time. And again, I'm going to discuss this and touch on time and how we can manage those social media spaces effectively so that we can not only harness those platforms to amplify our brands and amplify our businesses, but it's not taking over. We're not feeling overwhelmed, finding business opportunities and obviously networking and increasing sales, right? Building communities, building tribes, and using social media for our PR and marketing strategies. So a couple of things I just wanted to touch on when we're talking about these spaces. And I think because a lot of you are already confident, I don't need to kind of spend too much time, and I haven't really got that much time. I've only got 15 minutes. But just thinking about the language that we use when we're talking about both Instagram and LinkedIn, what is trending? Now, LinkedIn, more and more, you can have trending articles, trending topics on LinkedIn more and more, and they've made it a lot clearer now what trending conversations and trending articles are taking place on that platform. So it makes it easier for us to navigate that space and know what's the right kind of content. And when I say right, I don't want us to kind of become too formulaic, because you don't want to turn into a robot and become like everybody else. But it is important when it comes to measurement and understanding those spaces, right? Trending in Instagram, not so much, because what Instagram does is slightly different, but you can often see through the discovery page what is a popular post, right? You'll always know what's popular through the discovery page. You can go viral on both of these platforms, on Instagram and LinkedIn, but in different ways. It's not the same as some of the other platforms that we're not going to touch on. So for example, going viral on Twitter is a lot easier to see and to spot, but you can definitely go viral on Instagram and LinkedIn. The use of hashtags. Now, on Instagram, hashtags are one of the most powerful forms of monitoring, measuring, and engaging with content, right? But don't overdo it. The platform has changed now. It's not the same as it used to be. So you have to make sure that you utilize the right kinds of hashtags for your business, but not too many hashtags. They have to be relevant to your business, and they're not necessarily the kinds of hashtags that are going to look like you're what's the one I'm looking for, bombarding the platform, right? Because they've taken a lot of work, made a lot of work and effort into streamlining, because there used to be a problem with, it still is to some degree, how hashtags were used to falsely amplify content, you know, buying hashtags, buying followers, buying likes. So thinking about how hashtags are used on those spaces, and on LinkedIn as well. Hashtags are now used on LinkedIn very well, so you can monitor and manage conversations and follow trending topics, like I said earlier. Tagging, again, on both platforms. Trolling is something we can touch on briefly, and I'll come to that slightly later. And the algorithm. So the algorithm is obviously the technological speak behind the scenes and how we use these platforms. We're not going to go too much deeper into that, but these are the kind of terminologies I'd like us to think about when we're looking at how we navigate Instagram and LinkedIn. Using the right platform for your business and for your personal brand. So you've got to think about your voice on these platforms, right? What is a story that you're trying to tell for your business and for your personal brand? Find your own unique voice. One of the things that I found, especially on Instagram, is that people try to replicate what's popular, right? And so you'll sometimes see, especially when we look at the influencer space, you'll sometimes start to see almost like a template, formulaic approach, because it seems to work. But one thing I want to encourage all of you is to make sure you find your unique voice, right? So be authentic in yourself. Look at your business, look at who you're telling your story to, look at who your consumers are, look at the point and the purpose of the story you're trying to tell, and the end game. So is it sales? Is it building a tribe and a community? Is it to manage your reputation and to build trust? Be consistent on these platforms, right? And so I mentioned Instagram, but same with LinkedIn. There's similarities. It's just a slightly different use of each platform. It's consistency. Consistency is key on both platforms. I really enjoy using LinkedIn, and the only reason, one of the reasons why I do well on LinkedIn, and my clients do well on LinkedIn, and the clients that I engage with when it comes to building personal brands, is their consistency. If you're not consistent on LinkedIn, as well as obviously on Instagram, obviously you're not going to get the results. So really think about your consistency. If we're looking at it from a personal branding perspective, it's okay to have fun. We're not robots, we're humans. There's human beings behind these accounts. So you can have fun, you can engage with your audience, you can be engaged and engaging with your audience, okay? And really take a step back. What I like to encourage individual entrepreneurs to do is look at the brands, whether it's business brands or personal brands that you admire. They're not all kind of following a systematic approach where it's all serious, right? It's okay to share content that's a little bit unique, I'm not even gonna say a little bit, that is unique and is bold and stands out, okay? So think of that word fun and be responsive. When you're navigating both LinkedIn and Instagram, your responsiveness, not only to comments on your content, but also to other people's content, will enable you to build the tribe and community that you're aiming for across your business and your personal brand. So I wanted to use a couple of examples. This is my, I did a screenshot and I forgot to take off the press F1 to exit full screen. But anyway, that's my authentic self coming through. When you're using Instagram to present your personal and your business brand, now you can see this is my Instagram page here. I have interspersed not only the business messaging, so the PR messages that I want to communicate to my audience, but I also include the fact that I'm human. There's the element of the food that I love, and just being out and available, the books that I read. I've also interspersed, if you pay attention, some of my tweets. Okay, this is something I like to do. You don't necessarily have to do that, but again, it's unique to me. It's a reflection of my unique, going back to what I said earlier, my unique, authentic voice, right? I've also included, and this was taken just before today, so I don't think it's obviously not got the event banner for today's conversation, but one of the events that I've spoken at recently. So you can see for me, this is my way of integrating business and personal on Instagram. Now, there's something you'll probably notice in on the grid, 9 squares that I've placed there, is that it's me, it's my business, the things I like, but I've maintained my personal life outside of Instagram, right? Some of you might decide you want to intersperse your personal life, your private life on Instagram. That's your choice, but really take into consideration the risks and rewards of that, the risks and the benefits of that when you're utilizing Instagram, especially for your business. Now, I have a separate business page, which I should have included, but if you look on Ariatu PR, there's a little, there's a button there that shows you one of my stories. The Ariatu PR business page, you'll see specifically business-oriented content only on Ariatu PR. For On Kilowell, I balance it out. So you get a good mix of my personal brand and my business brand, but not necessarily my personal life and my private life, okay? So that's something to take into consideration when you're using Instagram. Now, next, I want you to look at my LinkedIn page, and I haven't done the screenshot of my entirety, partly to protect other people's data as well. So I just want you to screenshot just my page. But if you go onto my page, you can see some of the posts that I share. I keep my page quite, succinct. It is my digital resume, right? And so I share content to do with my business. I share interesting articles. I also share articles that are not only within the space of PR, but overall social issues, right? To kind of to interlink and overlap into my personal brand. What I'm about, who I am, what makes me interesting and makes me unique, right? But what I will encourage people to do when they're looking at their LinkedIn bios and they're looking at their LinkedIn pages is to undertake an audit and assess what's relevant and what's, you know, unique to you. Tidy it up, and I'm sure you'll get more information later on in this session in terms of how you can tidy it up and engage. But I love to engage and network on my LinkedIn page. I don't necessarily accept everybody when it comes to invitations. I'm quite intentional with who I accept. Sometimes if I'm feeling in a adventurous mood, I'll just say, yes, okay, this person looks interesting. Sometimes I have to unfriend people because they're a little bit bizarre, but that's the world we live in. That's the digital space we live in. But when you're looking at who you're engaging with in LinkedIn, make sure they're in alignment with your values, your core values, and also open up, be a little bit brave. They don't always have to be customers, consumers, or potential customers and consumers, or even people within your own industry, because you don't know who your secondary and tertiary audience is going to be. But be mindful of all the people that you're going to accept on your LinkedIn profile, and make your LinkedIn profile as relevant and as concise as possible. So it's clear from the get-go when people log on and find you, what it is you do and what it is your business is about, okay? So I'm going to go back quickly on your voice and the voice on both pages. Now, I kind of looking back at my Instagram page, looking at my LinkedIn page. If you look at my LinkedIn page now or after this session, you'll see what I mean about voice, right? I like to share articles on my LinkedIn page that are on time. When I say on time, I think about, you know, what's being discussed, what's relevant in my industry, what's relevant in the world at the moment, okay? And what interests me, but it will also interest my clients, potential clients, and will enable interesting conversations, right? So it's not just about selling, it's about networking. LinkedIn is a perfect hub and space for digital networking. And that's what you should be thinking about when you're sharing content on LinkedIn. At timely approach, being mindful and sensitive to your audience as well. Be mindful of the content you're putting out on both platforms. And this is partly why I go back to my Instagram page, why I don't share all of my personal life or private life information, because, you know, the more you give of yourself, especially when you're a public figure, when you're in the public eye as an entrepreneur and founder, the more you'll find people feel they're entitled to information about you, right? So make sure when you're looking at the information you put out online, be mindful of the content you're putting out on both of these platforms, okay? Respect the process. Now, depending on which platforms you're using, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn, respect the process. I mentioned earlier that Instagram is cracking down on, you know, excessive use of hashtags, buying followers, buying likes, because what people have often were doing in the past were trying to rush that process by buying all these things, buying followers and getting fake friends. So make sure you be patient. It's not just about how many likes you get or how many friends you have. It's about the conversations you have on these platforms and the content you're putting out and the consistency. So be patient and respect the process, okay? You'll find you're looking for friends, not followers, especially on LinkedIn, okay? So Instagram, obviously, you're looking for clients and you're looking for customers, you're building your audience, but on LinkedIn, you're looking for business minds, business friends to build up your repertoire and your portfolio on that social media platform. You want to be an influencer in your own right. And so let's reclaim the word influencer, right? You don't have to be like everybody else. You're a subject matter expert in your own right. So you can find the kinds of content and the storytelling and the digital storytelling in your own right, and reclaim that word influencer. How long do I have? I've got another 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes? So I wanted to just make a quick distinction, if it wasn't clear enough earlier, in terms of finding your individual voice on Instagram and LinkedIn, your business voice on Instagram and LinkedIn, right? A personal brand can really help to boost your business visibility and credibility. When you look at the entrepreneurs that you admire, the individuals that you admire who are doing well in the business space, they infuse their personal brands online. It's not just a case of pushing their businesses, they also include their personal brands. And that's why if you notice with my Instagram page, I included my personal brand, the things I like, a little bit of fun there, right? And as I keep saying, and I reiterate, know when to draw the line and consider keeping your personal page private. Now, when I say your personal page private, what I really mean is mine is open, the reason mine is open is because I'm not including all aspects of my life on Instagram, right? So if you're going to share, for example, images of your children, for example, you might want to consider how many images and the why. If it's in alignment with your brand, if there's a reason why you're sharing pictures of, you know, your children, your family, that's fine, be authentic, be free. But remember, risks and rewards, especially in a digital space. Business social media pages are slightly more formal. So really think about the voice you're using when you're speaking from your business page, okay? And be clear about the impact of your reputation. And this is why, you know, when you're speaking from your personal page, so if you've got your personal page on your Instagram, you can be slightly more free, but your business page, remember, it is a business. You have to know how to handle customer complaints and conversations on those pages. And you can also have a business page on LinkedIn and create those pages whereby it's a lot more formal. It's not as maybe free, so to speak, as your personal page on LinkedIn. Think about how you're creative. So create shareable content, use quality images on all platforms, LinkedIn and Instagram. It's okay to be humorous. Some of the most successful individuals on LinkedIn include humor in their post, right? But always think about your intention. Everything you do, think about your intention. So, you know, if you're not naturally funny, or you know your jokes aren't going to land, or it's just not relevant to your business, it's fine not to try and crack a joke. Let's just think about how you're using humor. Listen to your customers, use a generated post. You know, you can repost post on Instagram, that's great. Reshare content on LinkedIn, that's also great. And be informative. You can do so much on both platforms. IG Lives, now on LinkedIn, you've got LinkedIn Lives. There's so much, you know, LinkedIn is really becoming a robust platform in terms of how you can engage with your audiences on LinkedIn. So really think about how you're engaging with your audience on LinkedIn. I've got 2 more minutes. And think about the kinds of content you're using on all of these platforms. Visual content, audio content, video, written. So you can even use audio clips on both Instagram and LinkedIn. There are apps you can use which you can create those clips of podcasts, for example, and post them on your Instagram page. The written content on LinkedIn and Instagram really help to boost engagement. So you'll notice with some posts, people have really long captions on Instagram. That's because they're trying to engage and network with their followers. But obviously on LinkedIn, you know, you can it's not you can't just post, you know, there is a limit, there is a word count on LinkedIn, but it's a great space for you to create articles on LinkedIn, and on your actual page, your status update, you can include content that's exclusively for LinkedIn. Visual content, the images do very well on LinkedIn as well. So don't just think because Instagram is a visually designed grid space that it's only one thing can be used on one space. You can actually cycle content from Instagram to LinkedIn. Here are a couple of, in terms of activities from last year and in terms of the fears, I kind of had some discussions with clients. These are the things that people were concerned about when it came to using those spaces, both like Instagram and LinkedIn and other social media spaces. Fear, time, confusion, being overwhelmed, just not understanding it at all, and bad experience. So trolling came to mind again. So really take the time to consider what's holding you back from not using Instagram and LinkedIn the way you really ought to be using it, and be honest, okay? Why is you dislike some platforms more than others? These are a couple of the management tools that you can use when it comes to managing spaces. Now, some of them actually, I think TweetDeck and Hootsuite now, you can use, well, definitely for Hootsuite, you can use link to your LinkedIn and your Instagram. Networking, and I won't go deeper into this because I've run out of time, but really look at how you can use these spaces to network with your audiences, and really think about the fact that it's not just about selling, it's about conversations. Keep people updated on your business news, show interest and collaborate on both platforms. And it's interesting, the more we talk about these platforms, the more similarities you can find. It's just a different environment, right? So really think about the kinds of things you can do to amplify content on this platform. Monitor engagement, I've already talked about responsiveness, calls to action, link everything to one place. So don't just rely on Instagram or LinkedIn, or Instagram and LinkedIn. Have a website or somewhere else that if that if people need to be pointed to or redirected to, can find all the information about your business and your personal brand there, okay? So don't just rely on Instagram, or don't just rely on LinkedIn. And basically that's what I've literally said. Don't just rely on social media for your sales funnel. Think about a plan, audit your platforms, develop a schedule, and activate that plan, right? So after this session and after this webinar, really sit down and think about a plan for your social media use for Instagram and LinkedIn. And remember, it's not about you. Don't let it run you, you know, don't become overwhelmed, don't be afraid to be different, and unsubscribe from notifications. These are little tidbits and little guides I use to help people when they're utilizing, especially LinkedIn and Instagram, because you're getting so many notifications, it can feel like you're being bombarded. So you're the one who's running your social media, or if you hire a social media manager, they're the ones who are running it, but don't become overwhelmed by those platforms, okay? And that's it. Run through the last few slides, but hopefully that was useful and we can get some questions coming through.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Ronke. I definitely found that really, really useful. I love be authentic, be consistent. You hear them time and time again, but it's so good to just pull it back and just remember that. I think especially like now, it's so easy for that to get lost. But guys, please feel free to ask questions while we've got Ronke here. I do have a couple. You did talk about, didn't actually mention it, but just, I know on your website you talk about reusing content, so I'd just love to touch on that quickly because I think that's really, really important. And have a look on Ronke's site, guys. She's got 9 creative ways to repurpose your content, so I think it's really, really key if we just quickly touch on that.
Yes, and I'll share the link. I'm going to share the link in the chat so everybody can have a look at.
It's an amazing post. It's so good.
Thank you. How you can reshare and repurpose. So basically, look, if everybody takes the time to have a look at some of the posts I post on my Instagram, I flip it over to my LinkedIn, for example. So you don't have to just have one style for one platform, right? And there's just so many different ways. If you notice, remember I mentioned there was a screenshot of some of my tweets, for example. So I'm active on Twitter, but for those people who aren't comfortable on Twitter, I've screenshotted some of my tweets and I've posted those tweets on my Instagram page. And what I found with that is it actually maintains and keeps a conversation going, but it's also quite a unique way of highlighting some of my conversation pieces, right? So that's just one example and one way whereby if you're feeling overwhelmed or you just don't have any ideas, just take a moment to think, oh, actually, I've said this thing on this platform, maybe I can repurpose it for another platform. I use the example of the podcast. So there are some great apps you can use where you can get the audio, pull a little bit of a clip from your podcast, whether it's a podcast interview or your own podcast, and you can actually post that audio clip on LinkedIn, on Instagram. And again, you don't have to, you know, find another way of like just leave your podcast link just there floating on your website. You can actually keep it going. You can keep the conversation going. So in multiple ways, but I'm going to share the link later in this chat so people can find out more about.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. So we've got a question. So can you elaborate more on the idea of creating a social media plan? I think that's quite an important one there, actually.
Yeah, maybe I can share. So, okay, I'll quickly go back to that screen.
Yeah, please do.
Let's do that. Let me go back to my screen. So if I go back, or let me, I don't think it's letting me. Is that my last one? Right. It's not letting me. Let me go back to the other one. So basically what I want us to do is when we're looking at our plan is compartmentalize. So there it is. So compartmentalize. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so there it is. So look at that. So first thing you need to do is look at your social media platforms, all the ones you're using. And the ones we're talking about today are Instagram and LinkedIn, and look at your why. So when I look at undertaking a plan, is you're auditing, just undertake an audit of your social media platforms. So look at what content is relevant. You know, why are you posting this? Who are you trying to speak to? What's the purpose of this content? Is it to make a sale? Is it to drive a conversation? Is it to build your tribe and community? Really take the time to ask yourself those key questions. If it's not relevant, if it's not, you know, if it's not mindful, remember some of your content has to be mindful, especially in our in this age whereby you will be held accountable for problematic posts, really think about what you're posting and why, and look at a schedule. So when it comes to both LinkedIn and Instagram, think about how often are you posting on these platforms. I mentioned the word consistency earlier, and I would definitely say, look, there's so much information online in terms of the best times to post. You've got an insights tab on Instagram whereby it lets you know when your audience is the most engaged. There's a lot of information and matrix that you can find from LinkedIn as well in terms of what content works and what content doesn't work, right? Develop a schedule. You can use social media management tools, or you can literally just take the time to do the audit of your platforms and find out what are the best types of content to post, and when is the best, what are the best kinds of, what are the best days in which you can post your content, and then activate an actual plan. So that looks at the you know, visual, audio, video, written content. Really take the time to create almost like a business plan for your social media. So you know, anything you're doing in your business, you need some kind of plan or strategy, I should say, and activate that strategy and plan. Okay.
Yeah, and I think you touched on a key point there in terms of looking at schedules and stuff. Guys, I'd also recommend just try it, post something, see, you know, the reactions that you get from that, test it at different times, and see how that goes. You know, I think don't be afraid to kind of just try it and see how that goes. Ronka just got one more. So also I saw the comments. So comments that you may receive on your pages or in your inbox. I liked what you said, using that to just create content from that as well. If you just give us ideas how we can use comments, and I guess some of the inbox messages that you'll get as well, just recreating content from that, even if it's quite light content.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously we always respect, you know, GDPR and respect the individuals, especially when they send private messages or DMs to customers. But you can ask permission, obviously, if you wanted to post, for example, a great testimonial from an Instagram follower via DM. If it's on a comment, you know, visible comment, then it's out there. So you know, it should be fine for you to signal boost. But if it's a DM, it could be a question. It's something what you can do if you're finding that it's easier just to write a post to answer that question. So obviously answer that customer directly, but you could create a post, create a short video. You know, I mentioned that you can create video content, audio content, video content on Instagram, literally on the grid, and on IG, not only IG Live, but IGTV, where you don't have to create a separate YouTube channel. You can literally answer questions, talk about something that perhaps your customers want to address using your Instagram page, and the same with your LinkedIn. So from that same video, you can pull that video content and post it on your LinkedIn page as well. So it's answering the question across platforms. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. And we've got one last question, just to how to find these settings. I think that was when we was talking about the plans. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I would advise checking out Ronke's YouTube channel. It is absolutely amazing. You will find absolute wealth of knowledge on there. But Gemma, if I've not answered your question, please direct it again. We'll definitely grab Ronke at the end. But Ronke, thank you so much. She's put the link in there, guys. Have a look. Feel free to have a little snoop while we're on the call as well, if you've just got any last minute questions. Portia, back over to you.
I noticed that someone raised their hand. If you'd like to message us either in the question and answer box or the chat box, we'll be able to answer whatever question you have. But for this segment, we're going to move on to Sarah Ann. I'll let her introduce herself. So how this segment is going to work is we're going to be having a conversation about LinkedIn and just the general questions a lot of people might have specifically with how it works. And this is a person who has a wealth of knowledge with LinkedIn, so she'll be able to help us with all of that. So over to you, Sarah Ann.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here today. It's lovely to virtually meet everybody. Ronka crushed it. So we're like very in sync with everything that you mentioned about LinkedIn specifically and Instagram. So really nicely teed up. Thank you. So Sarah Ann Collins, I work for LinkedIn. I've been with LinkedIn 6.5 years. I currently run their East Coast sales for enterprise mid-market businesses. And prior to that, I worked with their small businesses. So have a range of experience working with lots of different types of customers and lots of different sizes of businesses, mostly specifically in the US. However, I am originally from Ireland, so I have experience working in the EU as well. So yeah, do you wanna kick it off and ask some questions? I'm happy to answer anything.
I will. So the first question we have is, we would like to know what the purpose of, I know we've touched on how to use LinkedIn, but what is its actual purpose, and how can someone who has never used it get started?
Yeah. So the mission of LinkedIn is to connect the world's professionals and make them more productive and successful. So if you think about that just very, very simply, everyone is a professional in their own right, no matter what they do. And so if you're not already on LinkedIn, although it does sound like a lot of people on this call are mildly familiar with it and relatively confident using it and maybe want like a little bit more tips and tricks, which I'm happy to answer. But there are many reasons to be on LinkedIn. So, it runs the gamut from if you are a young person that is, over 18 and just finished university or starting university, to if you are someone that has retired and everything in between with your career. It runs the gamut. So there are lots of different reasons to join the network. And one of the most traditional is probably like what we're kind of talking about today, which Ronka, mentioned a bit about, which is people that currently own businesses, run businesses, are in business, are employees of a business, or really just want to kind of increase their personal brand. And those are kind of like the main reasons people join our network and go on our network. And with everything nowadays, especially like this pandemic we've all been thrown into globally, I think it's like really forced us to appreciate the value of social capital more than ever, right? I think, we've all been starved of it for so long. I know different countries are starting to open up a bit more. But, I think social media has been like a really nice antidote, right? And I think there are many reasons to be on lots of different social media sites, but for LinkedIn specifically, it's usually a bit more professional.
Right. In terms of businesses, how important is it for me to have my business on LinkedIn?
Yeah. So, as I said before, I think there's a few like misconceptions, and I'm kind of like toying with, do I bring them up, because they may not even be misconceptions to people on the call. But it's something that I hear a lot. Like a lot of people will say, oh, like LinkedIn, that's more for, like banks and people that work in big advertising firms and like tech companies, things like that. So they're like, oh, it's not really for me. It's not for my business. And maybe you're a small business. Maybe you run a business with like 5 people, 1 person, it doesn't matter. And like we've done a lot over the past 10 years to really help make small businesses and entrepreneurs feel more included on LinkedIn. And now more than ever, we're so proud of kind of the strides that we've taken with that. So, if you're one of those people that are thinking, it's not really for my type of business, that's a very strong misconception. To give you an idea, there's 700 million people on LinkedIn and 50 million companies on LinkedIn. And if you think about 50 million companies, there aren't 50 million big companies, right?
Exactly.
So that it runs the gamut. And beyond companies, there's 90,000 schools on LinkedIn, right? So if you're somebody that's a student, or you're finishing college, thinking of going into college, thinking of going back to school, they're all on LinkedIn too, and they're finding ways to network with their future alumni. They're finding ways to connect with young people. Businesses are finding ways to connect with young people, to connect with people that are in college as well. 24 languages on LinkedIn. It really is global and totally runs the gamut. And by the way, 64% of the businesses are outside of the United States.
Oh wow. That's really interesting. One thing I will agree is that with LinkedIn and businesses, the one thing that I hold dear when it comes to this platform is the fact that I can actually meet businesses that are within my industry. So the one thing that I know how to use LinkedIn for is collaborating with other businesses. So the whole misconception of I don't know how to use LinkedIn for my own business, just popping yourself on there and trying to collaborate with other businesses, first of all, widens your industry knowledge and also helps you increase your representation with other businesses. So yeah, it was actually an important question to cover. Another question, which a lot of businesses, I mean, everyone starts a business to make money. Yeah. So everybody wants to know, how can we use this platform to generate revenue?
Yeah, great question. So it depends on what your business does, right? So if your business is pure sales, you know, people go on LinkedIn. Certainly there is marketing on LinkedIn. There's actually paid marketing on LinkedIn, like Instagram, that you can absolutely promote your product. However, there are other avenues. So really, like where I would encourage people to start is start at the very beginning. And Ronka actually mentioned this as well. You know, start with a very strong profile, and whether that's your business profile or your personal profile or both, right? Start there and really decide, like, what do you want your brand to be? And I love, like Ronka, I think, put it best, like authentic, humanize it, you know, be real, because you will get much more interaction that way. And the idea of doing that will lead to more and more business. So really, like, LinkedIn is all about relationships. Like I said in the very beginning, like our mission is to connect the world's professionals. So if you're someone that owns your own business and you want to connect with other people that also own their own business in the same industry as you, or perhaps you need help from someone like Ronka, you're able to find her on LinkedIn and connect with her to get something done to move your business forward, which will ultimately lead to more sales, which will ultimately lead to revenue, right? And so there are like different ways of making revenue. Obviously, if you're a company that you have salespeople working for your company, then salespeople are obviously reaching out to people on LinkedIn through LinkedIn messaging, and they're obviously associated with your company on LinkedIn. And I would encourage you as a business owner to make sure that all of your employees are synced up on LinkedIn with your business or following your business. You know, they're also putting forward the brand of the company, because it sounds like there's a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners on this call. And I think like entrepreneurs and business owners are usually the first to do really well with their personal brands across all social networks. And I think it's important to remember that people that work in your company also represent your brand and also represent the message and also have a voice. And so while we don't want to be super controlling of anyone's voice, and everyone wants to have their voice heard, it's important that everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet from a company perspective.
Yeah. One thing I do want to highlight, when we got the poll in, I saw that there was a lot of people that are in the idea stage. And I don't know, sometimes people, when you're in the idea stage, you're a bit confused about whether or not to put yourself out there digitally. What would you say to the people that are still in the idea stage but want to use LinkedIn to help further their business idea?
Right. Well, if you're in the idea phase and you're, you know, I would imagine anyone that's in the idea phase of opening up a business is probably and is an entrepreneur, probably has a really strong growth mindset, right? And so that individual probably will want to meet with other people that have done something similar in the past, have maybe set up their own business, whether it's in the same industry, have experience in it, can help guide them, can make introductions for them, whether it's to, you know, wholesalers or whatever it might be. Again, that's all networking, and networking has just changed. You know, even before, I think we all got locked down and stuck in our homes with COVID, right? No doubt it sucks, but like, when are conferences coming back and what does that look like, right? And that's a conversation that's really interesting right now, and I'm having a lot of conversations around. And this sort of conference with Zoom, where people can meet people and from the comfort of their own home and network, is awesome. But how do you network in a conference like this, right? Typically what you do is you'll connect with that person on LinkedIn or Instagram, depending on the type of the conference, and you might message them and say, hey, you know, something you said resonated with me. Can we connect? I'd love to chat a bit more, or I'd love to follow, or whatever it might be. Like, it's so important, I think, now more than ever to put yourself out there, because the availability of doing it face to face is diminished. And so I would encourage people not to be afraid of their digital footprint and to own it. Because honestly, from a business perspective, like, everything is online. Like in the United States, we have Yelp. Is that in Europe as well?
Not.
It's basically like, I'm trying to, what would it be in Europe? Like,
Is it like yellow pages?
yeah, kind of like where people can review your business. Like, for example, my mom owns a hairdressing salon, right? She's a small business, and if people have a bad experience, they might write about that, right? And that can be hurtful to your business. However, if people are doing that and you're not in control of that message, and as Ronka mentioned, you're not getting back to people, then you're not controlling your message. And in fact, someone else is speaking up for your company. So my point is, if you're not doing it, someone else will.
I have two more questions because we're nearly running out of time. The first question is, actually, I think you even touched on it in terms of like, how has networking changed because of COVID? Would you still say it's because that we have a better chance of meeting other people because we're doing it online, or is there anything else that you'd like to touch on that in terms of the changes in networking?
It's one of the things I think about, like, when you think about networking online, I think for some people, they think it's scary. They think it might be invasive. They might think, oh, like, it's synonymous with selling, and I'm not trying to sell anyone. And that's kind of an ugly word that's thrown about, I think you kind of just need to like get rid of all of those misconceptions, because, like, networking is not synonymous with selling, right? There's this call is all women, right? And if you think about the brain power on this call, including the guests and attendees, that's phenomenal. And like, why wouldn't I want to connect with people like that and learn more about them? And like, how can I help you, and how can you help me move forward and move up the ladder and increase my business and my personal brand? But I do think it's really important, because one of the things that I've noticed a lot on social media recently, and particularly on LinkedIn, and for those of you who are very active on the network, there's a lot of people that are just connecting for the sake of connecting. Ronka, you talked a little bit about LinkedIn, but you may be inundated with friend requests of people you have never met, don't know, and have really like no direct association with what you do at all, right? And I've heard that a little bit, especially when you are an entrepreneur and you run your own business. You're going to get people from all over the world that, for whatever reason, want to connect with you, and you don't know why, right? But again, that's you owning your own voice. That's you deciding, am I going to connect? Because there's some people that will connect with everybody. They don't care. They just want to have loads of connections. They just think the more the merrier, whatever. And then there's others that want to kind of control that connection group, because they like their LinkedIn to be a space that they know that they can go there for like these types of connections and whatever it might be. The point I'm trying to make is that I usually encourage people that when you are connecting with someone on LinkedIn, like, ask yourself, what do you want from this relationship? And what can you give to the relationship as well, right? Because networking is a two-way street. And if you're finding a reason in that, outline that in your message, right? Like, here's how we can, here's why I want to connect, and this was interesting to me, and here's what I think, how we can work together, or where this network can go. And you're much more likely to have someone connect with you thereafter. I will say, like, a couple of little tips around building your profile on LinkedIn. And this is probably true for any social network, is a photo. It seems very, very basic, but obviously I think have a photo on LinkedIn. If you have a photo, you're 9 times more likely to get connection requests than if you don't.
Yeah, that leads actually me on to the question that has come in from one of our attendees. Mm-hmm. How do you best brand yourself when you're looking for a job? And I think that maybe you want to touch on the features that LinkedIn offers in terms of like when you're job searching.
Yeah. So obviously LinkedIn is great for job searching. It's the bread and butter of the network. It's actually one of the divisions that I work in at LinkedIn. So when you're job searching, there are a few things. So for your profile, it really is like your digital resume. Like, actually, depending on your age range, but we find that most, like, young people, when I say young people, I mean like 18, that are out there and like trying to find jobs. many of them don't actually have a resume on a piece of paper in a drawer that we would have had like when you were starting off trying to find a job, right? Like people, like even before COVID, like kids are not going to recruitment fairs at universities with loads of resumes printed off in their backpacks. Like that's just like not happening anymore. Everything's on your phone, everything's digital, everything's instant.
Yeah.
And so with that, you know, making sure that you have a very strong personal brand online. So like I said, have a photo. You're 9 times more likely to get connection requests. You're 36 times more likely to get messages about jobs if you have a photo on LinkedIn and it's professional. Make sure you list your industry. That's how you'll get found on LinkedIn. So when recruiters are actually searching for individuals on LinkedIn, they'll use keywords and industry searches. So for example, if you want to get into the internet space, you might want to list internet as an industry on your profile. And also thereafter keywords. And again, like you obviously don't want to cultivate it too much that it's not authentic to who you are. But I do believe in like putting your best foot forward. And if you have that experience, like list it. You'd put it on a written resume. You should put it on your online resume. And one of the most important things that I find is endorsements and recommendations. So especially when you're looking for a position, again, everything being digital. And so directly through LinkedIn, you can reach out to a previous employer because again, they're usually on the network and just ask them, you know, hey, can you just quickly endorse me on LinkedIn? Or if they're open to it, write a little recommendation for you. And what's awesome about that is that you'll end up having, if you can consistently do that, you'll actually end up having a robust resume on LinkedIn, complete with references and endorsements and skills listed, so that when someone is thinking about hiring you, they can very quickly just see at a glance, and it's super easy that like, oh, hey, this guy's endorsed, this person recommends them, and you're able to click through everything to see that like the person that's endorsed them is a real person that works at this company, the person that's recommended them is a real person that also works at this company, and it's all very, very legit. And to that point, I think, you know, we talked a little bit, Portia, about, you know, your personal brand, and Ronka, you kind of mentioned it as well. Like you do need to have a hub on your website if you're a business owner, like of, you know, what you're about and everything. But I will say that it's important as a business owner to have a LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook if you have it, because even from a search engine optimization perspective, your brand, when you're Googling a brand, it'll come up. Your LinkedIn profile and Facebook and Instagram will come up first. And for a small business that isn't maybe search engine optimized, you're going to be like maybe 2 pages deep in Google before someone finds you. And these days, someone's going to really need to be looking for you to actually go and click through to the second page of Google. It's all about, you know, the scroll of one screen on an iPhone. That's really where you want to be.
Mm-hmm. We have one last question. Somebody asked, in terms of looking for a job globally, is there a feature on LinkedIn to widen your location so that you're able to search for jobs?
Yeah. There is now. Yes, there is now as of this year.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so yeah, we can find that on the LinkedIn. We have to wrap up, guys. I don't want to stay in here longer than normal. So I will go on to the last part of our webinar where I now explain who Phenomenal Women Global are, seeing as we've been talking about branding ourselves and specifically talking about networking in this last portion. I just wanted to introduce Phenomenal Women Global, which is a networking hub of women globally around the world who are working in completely different industries, and that way you're able to speak to so many different women and get into different areas of your work. So I'd already introduced us as a non-profit organization. So we are based in North America, in the United Kingdom, Uganda, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and France. And we specifically concentrate on developing leadership skills of women, and also coaching and mentoring programs. When you join us, we want to ensure that you understand that our mission is for us to personally and professionally develop your capacity. And as I've mentioned, the kind of services that we offer, we do that through our mentoring classes and leadership development. The women that are in this organization are women from about middle management to executive level. So you have a whole hub of different women that you be working with. And we also like to focus on underserved communities because that is where some of the most need is. So we seek to promote participation in different areas of their lives, including national and global issues. And we also are looking to eliminate discrimination against women and gender-based violence that stifles women. So that is something that we are also very passionate about. Our vision is to basically widen our network so that we're able to reach all of these women in different parts of the world. I know that we are based in Africa and Europe, but we want to grow that so that we are able to reach other women in underserved communities within those specific countries. And the way that you can contribute to this, and if you do want to get involved with us, we have a membership scheme that is tailored to these different organizations. And one thing I will mention is that we also work to help sponsor women and girls within the education system. So not only are you actually joining a hub of women that are able to network around the world, you're also giving back to the young women, because at the end of the day, we're doing this so that we can network and elevate each other. And the best way that we can do that is if we're able to give a tangible contribution to our community as women. So as you will see on this slide, it's $100 US dollars for any country outside of Africa, and within Africa it's $30. So we do that so that we are understanding of each economic need of the countries that we are based in. With the different features that you get with the individual membership, you get priority selection for mentorship programs, in-depth coaching and training, which is very important for women within business. You need people within your area to coach you and train you, be that financially, be that even public speaking. We're able to offer those kind of services to you. And also you get an opportunity to volunteer with one of our partners in Africa in supporting women. With organizations, we have a $200 US fee for people outside of Africa and $150 for people within Africa. With this, you get project funding initiatives. You're able to connect with different projects and secure funding for whatever collaboration that you are making with each other. We also hold conferences, which we've been unable to do because of COVID, but next year we're going to be starting up our conferences again. So what you will get with your membership is you'll be able to market your business. So I don't know if you've ever been to any one of these conferences. So for example, the UK Black Business Show that is held every October, you're able to go and showcase your business. So you will be able to do that with Phenomenal Women Global. And on top of that, guys, this is a global organization. So you will be able to have a platform with as many women in the world as possible, which is the greatest networking opportunity. So yeah, I also wanted to end this by making some recommendations, If anyone's looking to expand their brand awareness and also understand personal branding and business branding, not only do you have access to Ronke Lawal's YouTube, which we're also going to share in the follow-up email, I would also like to recommend a book by Kubi Springer. It's called I Am My Brand. It's an amazing book to understand how marketing works, set up marketing plans. And also with us, we also held another webinar that was on marketing yourself and your business. So we have some other ladies who are within the organization who spoke about how to use LinkedIn. And these ladies also spoke about branding yourself within the African sphere of business and personal branding as well. And so with that, guys, finishing on time, very proud of us. Thank you so much for joining our webinar, Ronke and Sarah, and thank you so much for joining us and giving us your time. We genuinely really do appreciate it. And please, I will basically share everyone's social media in the follow-up email. Look over it, and also this is also recorded and it's on Facebook Live. So if you need any access, if you've missed anything, it's all accessible to you. Thank you guys for joining us, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.